Please always do.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Education for the School District of Baraboo to order for Monday, April the 27th, 2015, with roll call. Mr. Cummings.
Here.
Mr. McNevin.
Here.
Mr. Meering.
Here.
Mr. Mortimer.
Here.
Ms. Riley.
Here.
Mr. Vedro.
Here.
And Bodak here. Continue with the pledge. The flag is behind the counter by the clock. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would entertain a motion for the approval of the board minutes from the April the 13th, 2015 meeting as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Riley, seconded by Cummings. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes carried and approved. Brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Oath of Office under Board Reorganization. If I would have the two board members that were successfully reelected to their positions in April earlier this month approach Mr. Cummings down on the end, and he will swear you in to your duties.
Give you your things here, and if you hold your right hand up and individually, it says there. I, Sean McNevin, have been appointed to the office of the Board of Education of the School District of Baraboo, swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations.
All right. Brings us then to the election of board officers. We have 4 positions: president, vice president, treasurer, and clerk.
I move that the current slate of elected office holders be continued.
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, offer an amendment to also add to that the board recorder. Ms. Weiland,
So accepted?
Yes.
any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations to those that were reelected to the officers' positions. Brings us to correspondence, which I did receive some correspondence which I deem pretty critical to our activities tonight, so I'm going to pass it out to the board. This was an email that was sent to me by a gentleman in California that had relatives that used to live in the Baraboo area, one of his ancestors. And what he sent to me, and I'm not serious about it, it's critical to our function tonight. He sent me a report card that he's going to have laminated and printed. He's going to have it flattened, laminated, and framed. It's from the Baraboo Public Schools from June the 13th of 1873. And I told him that I would bring it tonight and share it with the board because I was pretty certain that Ed and/or Gary had this. Mr. DeMitt. So I'm going to just pass them down. You guys can take a look at them. I've got a couple to send this way.
You know what I like about you, Kevin? Absolutely nothing.
And he also, the gentleman's name is Dwayne Cronk. He also made it noted that he, after he had it cleaned, flattened, matted, and framed, that he would make it available for sale if anybody's interested. Let me know. I'll get back to him. That's all I have for correspondence. Mr. Vedro?
I received correspondence from Kevin Mall, our sculptor, who is working with the school district and the board and the appropriate schools to create sculptures. And I have worked with him over a short period of time and suggested to him that we would like to see some information from other schools that had enacted such a project, because I felt it was a wonderful project for the arts and student involvement, but also to find out more information about how schools dealt with the liability issues and those other things. And this is a correspondence to the chancellor, a chancellor in the New York State school system, who has underwritten several of these kinds of projects. So he is sharing that correspondence with me and the board to indicate that he is following up on these requests to get that information.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Meering?
Yeah, correspondence I had was from the our Gifted and Talent Advisory Committee,
and which had a resolution which was sent to the Joint Finance Committee, basically advocating for a increased funding for grants for professional development that would have an emphasis for gifted and talented students.
Thank you. Any other correspondence from board members? None that I was made aware of. Administrative correspondence?
I shared with the board what I had, so I won't go into detail.
Okay. Brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Public Viewpoints. Do we have anyone here for public viewpoints tonight? Any public viewpoints? Any public viewpoints? Hearing none, brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled Staff and Student Recognition, always one of the highlights of our evening. And we have with us tonight Jack Young Middle School Chess Club members, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cannell.
All right, well, I have, I guess, the president or founder of our chess club, Joseph Zach. Want to stand up, Joseph? And Joseph came to me. Joseph came to me toward the beginning of the school year and said he wanted to start a chess club, and we haven't had a chess club for some years now at the middle school. And I said, I'm all for it, but I really want you to take it by the horns and make it your own. And I said, you're going to have to round up an advisor. You're going to have to make sure the advisor has a background check. You're going to have to secure a room. I said, we'll provide you with some financial resources through student council or whatever organization we can to get you chess boards and the things that you need, but I really want you to take this on yourself. And I was amazed because one day I walked into room 401 at the middle school, and there were about 20 kids in there all engaged in chess and excited about chess and having a great time. And Joseph did a marvelous job just taking that over and creating an activity that was very engaging for our students. And then he brought back to our school a trophy that they had won up in Wisconsin Dells. They won 3rd place in the team division for the Wisconsin State Chess Federation Championships. And Joseph, I believe you won a 2nd place individual trophy as well. So he did an awesome job with that. I wanted to recognize him for that.
Joseph, is there anything you'd like to add or talk about with the experience?
Well, I've been playing chess for like 5 years, and I haven't really done so competitively much, just played with my family members and stuff. But then the last year I really started getting competitive about it. Wanted to start beating all my family members. And when I started beating them, I had to find more people to play.
I can't beat him anymore. I played my 7-year-old on Sunday night, and he beat me. Still coming.
So I wanted to make a chess club so I could play more people and maybe get them more experience so that I get some more competition.
Victims.
Well, I have to admit that I don't know how to play chess, so maybe when you're done with this competition, you can start a group for beginning adults. But no, I think it's really neat that you brought this idea forward. You have other kids involved, and you came home with that trophy. So this makes this look little, but still, I'm going to give it to you. Honors for excellence from our school district.
Oh,
thank you for your leadership.
Thank you very much. Continuous school improvement. First up, the Sauk County Health Department Nurse Family Partnership Program.
Michelle Krantz.
And Michelle Krantz and Diana Cohn.
Alright, well, my name is Michelle Krantz, I'm public health nurse here at Sauk County, and I'm here with Diana Cohn, the school nurse here in Baraboo, and my boss, Kathy Warwick, the deputy director at the health department. And what I'm here today to talk to you guys about is a Nurse Family Partnership, which is a program we started January 1st here in Sauk County. And today I just want to tell you a little bit about what it is, who qualifies for it, program outline, evidence-based outcomes, the Sauk County statistics, client feedback, and questions. And the reason I'm here today is for the women in Sauk County in the Baraboo School District that are eligible for this program, I would like to get them credit for the school district as well. I did get one client in River Valley credit for this program down there. So I'm just trying to get out there and to bring awareness to the community. So if you guys have questions along the way, please let me know. So I like this quote. This is from a mom in Pennsylvania that really just shows what the program is a little bit. So they always say babies don't come with an instruction manual, but if there was one, Nurse Family Partnership would be it. So what is Nurse Family Partnership? It's an evidence-based program that is a community health program, and it's been going on since the 1970s, so 40 plus years that this program has been collecting data, started in Colorado, and has kind of slowly moved across the United States. is transforming the lives of vulnerable first-time moms living in poverty. So that's why it matters here at the high school, because most of the high school students that do become pregnant it's their first pregnancy. And also the other part of that is they do have to be low income, and so that's what this program is really geared towards. The reason we do this is to improve prenatal care, improving the quality of parenting and life prospects for mothers by partnering them with a registered nurse. I myself am the program coordinator and I'm a nurse home visitor, so I work one-on-one with these women in the home every week or every other week throughout pregnancy and for the first 2 years of that baby's life. So I'm really in there, really bringing up topics, doing a lot of education with that mother, which is why, again, that I'm here today. The other part of this program that's nice is for every dollar you invest, you can save $5 in the long run with these moms long term. So again, qualifications for the program. First-time mom. The mom has to be less than 28 weeks, 6 days gestation, and that's just that shows that there's a lot more positive outcomes for mom and baby if we can get them in the program before that time. They have to be low income. The qualifications we're using are if they qualify for Badger Care or they qualify for WIC, and they have to live in Sauk County. So that's a county program right now. Adams County, Juneau County, and Dane County are also counties in the area serving this population. Parts about the program, we talked about goals of the program already: improve pregnancy outcomes, improve child health and development, improve parent economic self-sufficiency. Again, key points: first-time at-risk moms, partnering them with a registered nurse. Intense services, we work in the home, like I said, with them every week or every other week, and we do that for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours at every visit. We do focus on behavior, so we do we have goals at every visit from 1 week to the next. Small goals, you know, the mom's goal might be to graduate high school or get a job or go to college. That kind of thing is a bigger goal. We focus more on a small goal, like get to school on time every day. You know, do your homework, you know, small goals that are achievable. And nurses, knowledgeable judgment and skills, and a high level of trust in the community as well. So I will pass out this quick thing, just talks a little bit more about the program. When, I'll just pass this around this way, pass these around in here.
Thank you.
So when I go into the home and visit, I ask the mom what she wants to learn about. Because when a mom goes to the clinic, they give her stuff. This is what you need to know, this is what you need to know. I want to teach her what she wants to learn about. So I give her this packet, exactly the one he's holding in his hand. And I say, what do you want to learn about? Tell me what you want to learn about. And I teach her what she wants to learn about. She can pick labor and delivery. She can pick my body's changing. She can pick how do I communicate with my boyfriend and that kind of thing. And I passed around some examples that are coming around showing different ways that we do that. So it's called a facilitator, in which we talk about, as a mom, did you like school, or do you like school? What do you think your baby's gonna like about school? What do you want for your baby? Do you want him to grow up? Do you want him to graduate high school? Kind of thinking about these futuristic ideas that a lot of moms don't think about right away. And this just prompts that conversation. And my relationship with her allows her to trust me to talk about that conversation. Short-term outcomes, so this is just a quick recap for, so age 2, research shows that there's fewer days in the hospital due to injury. By age 4, there's a higher total language score for the children that are in this program. So the moms that are enrolled, of the babies they have a higher total language score. There's a decrease in months receiving welfare and a decrease in months receiving food share by age 5. At age 9, they have higher reading and math scores, and there is an increased space between births for these moms. So that's short-term. Long-term outcomes, things you see 15 years later when that baby turns 15 and I've been out of the home for 13 years. There's a 79% reduction in child abuse and neglect, a 44% reduction in maternal behavior problems due to substance abuse, a 69% reduction in maternal arrest rates. The child has 54% fewer arrests and 60% fewer convictions at age 15. Mom has an 82% increase in months employed, 20% reduction in months on welfare, and a 46% increase in the father's presence in the household. So something that did come up when I spoke to Diana and Lori about this program is possibly getting fathers who are also interested in learning more about this program credit as well. If he's willing to attend the visits and do that kind of thing, that's something that I would be more than happy to do, because I do have a lot of fathers that are present in the visits that I have with these moms. some interesting things I thought you guys should know. So Sauk County, they just came out with county health rankings for 2014. And Sauk County was on there for teen birth rates that are higher than the state average. So for every 1,000 females aged 15 to 19, there are 31 births in Sauk County, and the state average is 27. So I kind of looked up some statistics to see how teen moms fare as far as finishing high school. About 40% of teen moms finish high school, and fewer than 2% finish college by age 30. Another reason, again, with this program is looking at the baby of that teen mom is what we're kind of thinking about futuristically. Children of teen moms perform worse on many measures of school readiness, are 50% more likely to repeat a grade, and more likely for children born to older mothers to drop out of high school. So really, this program also just helps break that cycle. We want to help mom be prepared so she can help that baby learn and help that baby grow and to be a good contributing member of society. As a side note to both of those things, Sauk County just became eligible for this program for a grant because of low high school completion rates and high rate of binge alcohol use. So I just wanted to share those two things with you. Here's a map of Wisconsin. You guys can see Sauk County is a little bit darker area, not as dark as Adams or Menominee, but they are on there. So that's just a comparison across the state.
Where's the grant from?
The grant, it's Family Foundations, so it's a grant through the state, I believe. Kathy, is that correct?
Okay.
Yep.
State grant.
Did you
It's actually federal funding.
With federal funding.
It's federal funding.
Okay.
We're one of 12 counties that now have been targeted as at-risk communities. Dane County is also one in Juneau, so we're writing it combined because we're all doing this program. So.
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to get some funding, but I did want you to know that we became eligible because of that. Some Sauk County data. So this is just data from 2013, we don't have 14 yet. So knowing the women at risk in the community, and that does include high school students, 39% are first-time moms, qualification for the program. 49% are Medicaid births, so that's that low-income qualification. And then the rest here are just risk factors for mom and baby. 34% are single women, 27% are moms under the age of 25, 9.75% have some or no high school education, 21.76% smoked during pregnancy, 19% started prenatal care after their first trimester, 8% had premature infants less than 37 weeks, and 5% had low birth weight babies. So these are just risk factors in Sauk County. Of the women we enroll in the program, that includes teens all over Sauk County, this is data from 2013 and 2014. So you can see kind of the comparison. So 86% were single, 48 to 52% smoked during pregnancy, 48%, and then up to 55% reported alcohol use before their knowledge of the pregnancy. And this next one is a really big one for me because I didn't expect to see this change. There's a 15% increase in self-reported street drug use in the past year since they found out they were pregnant. So there's an increase in that in the community. And then 55 to 57% reported depression or receiving counseling or medication for mental health. So this just wants to show you guys that there are communities at risk, students and women at risk in the community. Monetary savings. This is a graph that just shows you that big blue line here is the savings to the government. So that's the amount that we can save if we invest in the program early on, before that baby's even born. We can invest now while that mom's still pregnant and get her ready so that when that baby's born, she knows what to do. And we can do that through health care, child protection, education, public assistance, criminal justice, mental health. And we can decrease all that and increase the chance that she's employed. She can pay taxes, she can do all that stuff and contribute. And map the United States, just showing across the United States where this program is. Outside of our area, like we talked about Adams, Juneau, and Dane, there's City of Milwaukee and Kenosha County are the other two. And that's all we have for the state of Wisconsin right now. I know there's groups in Iowa that have been doing this program for 14 years. So they've been doing this for a long time. This program's been out there. And we're just getting started, so I'm really excited to do that. Between myself and our other part-time nurse, we can take a total of 31 clients. We have 9 women enrolled in the program right now since January 1st. We've had out-of-county transfers. A lot of them we work with transfer from county to county, so then we can just transfer them to another nurse. They still have that support, still have that person behind them. If you want to know how women in the program feel about the program, I do a client survey at pregnancy visit 5. And this is a client of mine that I visited with, and this is her response. So when asked, how do you feel about having a nurse visit you, she said, I feel interested and excited because I feel more educated and prepared for my baby's arrival. It's really relaxing with the nurse support. What if your baby could talk to you? How would your baby feel about having a nurse? My baby feels important because there's another person who isn't related that cares for her well-being. And what I would like you to know so that you can better help support me is to keep doing what you guys are doing because it's working. And then as a side note to that, one of my teen clients wrote, I'm a lot to handle, which I already knew. But as a side note, that was something nice for her to tell me. So that's just feedback that I get from her along the way. So I know, what can I be doing differently? What do we need to do differently to make sure that you understand what we're talking about on the visit? So I've been working with Diana about getting referrals from the area. If there's a teen that's pregnant and she doesn't know if she wants to be in the program, I will come meet with her and Diana if she trusts her. Talk about what it is, that kind of thing. Awareness in the community, just building awareness. If you guys know somebody, you guys can, anyone can refer to this program, absolutely anyone. And my business card's on the front of that green pamphlet that's in front of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. And then we just started our community advisory board for this program. If you are interested in representing the public, our second meeting is coming up on May 27th at 5 p.m. at the West Square building. So with that, I would like to ask if anyone has any questions for me at all.
You service 31 clients?
Yes, that's our maximum
In
amount
Sauk.
of clients
That's
in
in
Sauk County with the nurses that we have right now. Yes.
Is there a feeling that that number should be higher?
The amount of clients we should have, or the number of nurses?
Well, I mean, is there more demand out there than 31?
Absolutely. And I think that that's really clear in the data from here that shows that there are a lot of women at risk in the community. It's just a matter of accessing those women, getting them to trust me to allow me to come in and visit with them. And that's, having that point of trust. So Diana's a really good person here. Students usually feel comfortable coming to talk to her and ask her, and then I can come meet with them, and I'm more than happy to do that one-on-one, warm handoff so that they do trust me too. Yeah, absolutely. And with that family funding grant, we would hope to add another nurse to this group to take more clients.
Okay.
So what we're looking for tonight is approval from the board to partner with this program and to offer a half-credit elective to our students.
For a semester, for participation, right?
I move to approve.
Second. Any discussion?
They would get the half credit per semester for the 2 to 3 years that you're working with them.
Yep, and I did come up with a form which I can send around to you guys as well, that I have,
This is done in other school districts?
Yes, Verona is the school district in Dane County that does it. River Valley already approved it and has it going for a student down there, and it is the reason she's graduating. She was credit short, so that helped that. But I do fill out a form and send it to my contact, so Diana, letting her know the student has to keep the visits. I do have an agreement signed with them so that they understand if you don't make the visits, you don't get the credit. That's just how this is gonna work. It's not necessarily that I won't go see her, but she might not get credit for it. And then it also gives topics that we talk about so that, Diana or whoever would know like the content of our visits, so that that's there too. And that's all in that packet there that I gave Lori and Diana. Yep.
Hearing no further discussion, those in favor of the motion as presented, which was motion by Mr. Meering, seconded by Mr. Vedro, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and good luck.
We're on
Okay, up next, continuous school improvement, Mid-State and Associates and the Albeerman Elementary School Partnership. And we have a team to present to us tonight.
Goodness. You have a demonstration.
Hi, thank you for having having us tonight. My name is Sarah Higley and I'm the art teacher at ABE.
And I'm Tessa Carls. I teach 5th grade at Alabama Elementary.
I'm Warren Klink. You can call me Q. I'm with MSA Professional Services, or formerly known as State Associates.
We're here to share with you an integrated lesson that we did just recently this spring. And we're calling it our STEAM City Planning Unit, STEAM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. And then we threw writing in there as well, because there was a lot of writing with this. So basically the overall project was for the students to create a city plan, and this is one of the examples that they created. And it was a project that included a lot of group work, a lot of collaboration, and our main focuses were problem solving, creative thinking, collaboration, and communication.
So basically the first couple slides we have are all of the learning targets that this fits. So we just kind of wanted to show you that it's pretty in-depth planning and lesson that we had for the kids. So just in general, the writing the persuasive essay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets that fit for that. And one of the main ones was just to write an opinion piece on topics or text supporting a point of view with reasons and information. That's like the main persuasive learning target. And then all the other ones are just kind of, they go along with that learning target more in depth. So this is kind of just to show you. I'm not going to read through all of them. And then next, presenting a persuasive topic. So that's another thing in 5th grade that we have to do. And just using technology, working together, it's all part of that. And that was another area that we were able to hit with learning targets.
It also addressed the new national core art standards, which were just released in the last year. And a whole bunch of them, but some that I thought really stood out in this project were to brainstorm multiple approaches to a creative art or design problem, and also to collaboratively set goals and create artwork that is meaningful and has a purpose to the makers, which I think are pretty big ideas and things that kids don't get to do that much, those really big ideas.
Are these standards adopted by the state as of yet?
Not officially, but we've been told by the DPI that if we choose to adopt those as a district, that would be wonderful, because our state standards are pretty outdated right now and they haven't really attacked that yet. So
okay.
I'm not sure if they're going to adopt them or not, but we've been told to go for it if we think it's best for our district.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I used for this lesson.
Thank you.
So the whole process started in art class, and first they were given a board like this. Each board had a different landscape on it, and they had to work around that landscape to create a design. So they had to think about having commercial areas, industrial areas, municipal, residential. They had to follow parameters, staying a certain distance away from the water and things like that. They also had to be using math skills because the whole thing was in a ratio. It was a 1 inch to 100 feet, so they had to be thinking about ratios and where things could go. And then each group, or each student in the group had a specific professional role. So we had a civil engineer, and we had a city planner, and an environmental specialist. So everybody had their own list of duties that they were responsible for. And then after they were finished with the actual design, they built up this kind of 3D layout where they used recycled materials, lots of milk cartons, and paper to create kind of this 3D layout, a little bit more dimension and make it just easier to present their ideas.
There's a water tower, for example.
Yeah, and a little flag, and so they worked really hard to create, and they did all this in about 2 art classes for the 3D part, so a lot of really hard work together.
And was each of the layout identical? They're each team working with the same? No.
Every landscape was different, so some had a river and a valley, and some had like here they've got a big elevated area, some had a lake in the middle, so they had to try to maximize their space. So there's a lot of problem solving with that. So, and to kind of talk about how they were able to do that.
Yeah, so when Sarah and I first collaborated about some ideas, I was very excited to get out into the elementary schools to not only just talk about the technical aspects of maybe this project, but to maybe just give a little bit of a spark about engineering, because you start younger. About that age group was when I got really first inspired by my 4th grade teacher, actually put it in my head to be an engineer, and it just stayed with me enough through high school that I actually chose it as a career. So I was excited to help, and I'll just say that MSA in general has always been willing to help out any schools in the district in any type of career-related, and we're also working with another group on some STEM projects in the district. But as far as this project, you know, my role was to talk a little bit about the technical aspects and to kind of explain what residential is versus commercial, you know, district in a city planning project. But more just, I think just being a role model, being able to answer questions and help them through the process was more than you know, really more important for me and for the project.
He was also able to talk to them about how he collaborates with other professionals in the real world to help them learn how to collaborate in groups with each other.
It's and I told this to the kids, it's like, it's amazing, and I told it to you guys, is that it's amazing how this was a little you know, a little example of how it works in the real world. Really bickering between each other about what needs to be done, and who's right and who's wrong, and how you have to get over that to come to a solution. And believe it or not, it is very similar to what we deal with in the everyday world.
So then in the classroom, after they had most of their boards done and they were ready to now present to a city council which city is going to be built in this location, we had to come up with a persuasive essay that they were going to write and then a persuasive oral presentation. But they had to do it in a group. So you can't do it by yourself. Your 4 group members had to come together and decide what were the most persuasive parts of your city. What are the people on the city council going to be looking for in order to say, yep, that's the city we want to build. So again, there's that collaboration. And there's the bickering, and we're learning about a little democracy here, voting. And then when the groups couldn't vote, they decided, well, let's tell our examples to the whole class and have the class vote. So then, you know, they were able to solve some of those problems that way, which was really fun to see, because I was really walking around as the facilitator. I had to teach them what a persuasive essay is. In 5th grade, this is the first time you're really doing more than opinion, but you're actually doing persuasive with rebuttal. So I had to teach that. But after that, I was just there as the eyes and ears and, you know, a little bit of facilitating here and there. But here's just some pictures showing, you know, the kids working together. They all had the same organizer. They had to come up with the same thesis statement and agree on the thesis statement. And they had to have, for each paragraph, which there were 3 of them, the same topic sentence, and then just bullet points underneath it of how they were going to support that topic sentence. So they all basically were the same, and they had to agree upon that. Those were the positive things of their city. So they worked together, did some voting, and got that part ready. And then,
Do you want to talk? Do you want to point that
oh,
out now?
yes,
or?
okay, yeah, thank you. So one of the things is we thought this is really a good lesson for our advanced learners. You know, they're gonna run with it, and this is really set up for some of the high achieving kids. And then as we got into it, we realized some of our lower learners were really benefiting from this. So they got to see the advanced learners, and they were kind of facilitating and getting things going. But then the lower students their products were just amazing because they were having that good support. They felt like there was groups of 4, so they felt like they had a voice. And it just, everyone was almost on the same playing field at that point. They were all able to contribute. They all had the same organizer in the end, so when they went to write their essay, they had ideas, they were ready, their topic sentences were already written, they just had to add the details in, and it was just really great. Everyone felt confident. Everybody felt that they could do it, and that was a really nice feeling and nice for all the students. So I was really excited to see that this that we had planned maybe for the high learners kind of fit for everyone. And I just put in a sample here, sample essay. This is just a sample intro paragraph that a student wrote. We've been working on grabbing the reader's attention and having her thesis statement in there. So if you want to just take a quick second to look at it. And they basically wrote their own on there, but they had the same thesis in there that we should build a city. One thing that's exciting though was the kids, in 5th grade they want to name everything. So naming the cities was so fun. That in itself, you know, and having to vote for what is the name. But it was cool because they thought about, okay, our city has a river, so it should maybe have something along the lines of using a river in it. So it was kind of fun to see that. And then finally, after we wrote our essays, we published them, we typed them up, we shared them with Ms. Higley. Then we had to come up with a presentation, and we talked about, we had done a few presentations prior, and they'd done a lot of reading off the smartboard and just read it. And we said, you know, this time we don't want to read it, we want to actually talk out to our audience. So they prepared note cards, and they practiced what they wanted to say. They each took turns, they each had a section that they were supposed to talk about. And then we gave our oral presentations to the class and to our speakers.
So we set out some chairs, like a little city council meeting, and we had the mayor there to be, you know, like the important guy who sat up front. And they set up
taking notes there.
they set up their boards, and they all stood around really formal, and you know, had their note cards and pointed out the things they were talking about. They did a wonderful job. And then to me, the coolest part was when the city council members got to formulate their own questions. So, like, he said, wow, you asked some really great questions. Like, but did you ever think, what would, you know, what happens if this happens, or what if your river flooded? And, you know, they were really...
If you had one more building to add, what would you add? I mean, I thought I was gonna have to ask the questions because I thought they would be timid, they wouldn't really know what to ask, but I didn't have a chance to ask any questions because there was constant questions, and I would say 90% of them were pretty good, thoughtful questions.
Nice open-ended questions.
Yeah,
Were like
right.
And we didn't coach them on that at all.
Yeah.
That was just completely on their own. They came up with these really great open-ended questions. And then finally, afterwards, they all got to vote for the city they thought was the most creative, the most innovative, and had the best quality of life if they were to live there. And this was our little winning group of 4. They got little MSA lunch boxes and some goodies inside, and we gave them all job applications for MSA.
I had to tell them afterwards that this is kind of just a joke.
I think at first they got really nervous, like, but they just did a wonderful job, and we were just really proud.
Yeah, all in all, we think this is a great project that we would like to have continued in the Bear School District by ourselves and maybe other people as well. So we're just really excited, and we're happy that we had the chance to share with you.
Thanks for having
me.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, brings us up to reports. Up first, Mr. Prefer with the 2015-16 budget update.
Yes, so you have that 3-page document within the packet that Crystal sent out last week. It's not too new. Everyone's seen this before. There's 3 pages to it. The first page looks at the staffing changes that have occurred or will be proposed shortly. I'm not going to go into too much detail there because nothing much has changed. On the second page, you see a table. Those are cost additions and reductions to balance the 15-16 budget. So the deficit to begin the year was $164,000, and we've experienced both some cost savings this year and some areas where there needed to be some cost additions. And what I've included here doesn't necessarily include everything for the 14-15 year, every cost deviation, but these are areas where we have found that these additions or reductions will continue on to the 15-16 year, so they have a direct reflection of the adjustment that needs to be made to this year that will be continue on to next year. So I'm not going to go line by line. You can read through those, but they total about $296,000. So then if you move on to the third page, you'll note that that $296,000 number is reflected on the line beneath the blue line. So just at the top, this is, again, you've seen this before, that's the decrease in revenue that we're expecting. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but we are still reflecting a negative $704,000 in revenue next year. The one that, I don't know if Crystal wants to speak to what she's been hearing and some of the chatter I've been hearing at the state level regards the second line, the minus Fund 10 state categorical aid, the negative $454,000 number. We are hearing at the state level that there's lots of phone calls being made and contacts being made to state legislators opposing this cut. And I've been hearing that there is a possibility we may see some of that funding come back to us, but it's up in the air at this point. I don't know if you want to speak to what you've been hearing as well.
That's the same thing that I heard as well when the superintendents were with the Democratic Assembly down in Madison a week or so ago. I think though, you know, the best case scenario for us is to not only have the 150 categorical aid reinstated, but to have additional funding per student. I mean, that's really what we need. And we'll get into more details as we know more information. And you're coming back, is it the next board meeting?
Yep,
Yeah.
and at the finance committee tonight, the finance committee had the first look at the budget draft for next year, and all this was described in detail, and I'm going to go into much more detail on May 11th. Did you have a question, Peter?
Well, I was just asking if the light does pierce the darkness, and we are able to reclaim some of these cuts. Do we have a plan in place prioritizing for how those monies will be utilized?
Right. So as I go down, let me get to that one moment. But as I go down this list, you'll see under expenditure savings, we are at over $1.1 million in either cost shifting or cost reductions for next year. However, there are some expenditure additions then listed beneath there. And the final line there you see is current 2015-16 budget deficit of $105,000. Keep in mind that that is built without a salary increase included with it. So what you're speaking to, if this money does come back and we do get these funds back, that's a priority, I know, for
And
Crystal.
fund balance as well, which we talked about a little bit in finance committee tonight.
Well, I would only, again, my preference is if we are able to reclaim some of those funds, that the people that support this institution come before other areas. You know, that's the most fundamental and basic definer for me. That's all.
I believe that's the plan at this point, and as we're talking about the budget of the district with staff, we're letting them know that salary and wage increases, probably those discussions won't begin until fall, until we have a better picture of where we're at with revenue.
And keep in mind that this budget picture, this is subject to change. A lot of this, there's some pretty significant cost shifting that we're doing from our Fund 10 operating budget into Fund 80, and those types of items have been submitted to DPI for approval. And if they come back and they're approved, great, these numbers hold true, but they could come back to us and say, you need to do something else, and then you could see some of these numbers change. Open enrollment, we won't know those numbers till the fall. So there are a lot of variables included here that could cause these numbers to differ from what you're seeing right now. Does anyone else have any questions on these 3 pages? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Up next, Mr. Gannell to talk about the 2015-16 Jack Young Middle School student schedule.
And you'll be happy to know that I do not have a PowerPoint. Okay. But I do have riveting content. In laying out the middle school schedule and looking at not only the schedule itself, but also our staffing for next year, we are making the following proposals in regard to the schedule that involve some course offerings at the middle school. The new course offerings at the 6th grade level would begin with an introduction to world languages, a course that we've had in the past, but we haven't had for quite some time. We'd like to reintroduce that. We're able to do that in next year's schedule to offer a 7-week rotational class, so all 6th graders would have that course at really no cost attached to it. We would not need to, the only cost attached to it would be providing the teacher with summer curriculum time to plan that course. And we were able to offer that because we hired a teacher who had multi-certification in math and foreign language. And initially, we didn't think we would be using the foreign language part of that certification. But as we rolled the schedule out and some of our online teachers would put back into our schedule, that opened up other areas and created the possibility to introduce that course. So the instructor is already hired for that particular course. It would just be added to their schedule. Also at the 6th grade level, we'd like to introduce a course called Career Cruising, which would be an introductory course using a new career program that we have across the district called Career Cruising. Replaces what we've used for many years called WIS Careers. This would allow us to further explore career options for kids beginning in the 6th grade level. And I believe in 2016, no, it's 2015, 16-17, where the career academic plan becomes a requirement. This would give us a leg up in being able to start that process with our students. This course would have a cost attached to it, $7,000, but that is covered by the reallocation of the money that we had previously spent on WIS Careers. The instructor for this course would be a replacement for our FCS program in combination with STEM offerings that we're going to offer at the 7th and 8th grade level. So the 6th grade introductory course that all kids would take for 7 weeks would be a career-oriented course. At the 7th and 8th grade level, we'd be offering some STEM program. Again, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. We have looked at several curriculums. We did some school visits. We looked at a program called Project Lead the Way, which is focused on kind of the design process and robotics. And there are some foundational courses that we would offer next year to our 7th and 8th graders. Being foundational courses next year, everyone who signed up for this elective course would have to take those 2 courses. And the introductory courses are design and molding, and I believe you have a description of that course in your packet, along with a robotics course. This would be an elective course that would meet every other day for 9 weeks. There are some costs attached to it, though. The costs, I believe, on this document are probably on the high end, because we do have some sources of funding that we could reduce that number.
And just to add to that, we don't need to seek any additional dollars to make the course run at this point.
And then the following year, just our 7th grade students would take that foundational course, and then we would purchase additional STEM units, and there are a number of ones listed there that we could choose to purchase, including green architecture, flight and space, science and technology, or a medical detectives course.
This is just a phase-in, because the 8th graders didn't have it.
Right. So next year, everybody would have to take those same 2 courses, but the following year, our 7th graders only would take those, and our 8th graders would take different courses.
Okay.
The rationale for moving in the STEM direction, number one, it's highly engaging for kids, as you saw in that earlier presentation. It's very relevant to 21st century skills. It has that whole piece with collaboration and communication and critical thinking. Access to the next generation's science standards. It helps reinforce those standards. Not only will students be getting those in our science courses, but then in this elective offering as well. It will strengthen our scope and sequence in regard to engineering across the district K-12. And it will provide opportunities to really continue to further develop our business partnerships. And I think that's a real important rationale behind this particular offering.
We just had a presentation earlier on STEM, STEAM. And one of the things Tessa really emphasized is that it was integrated with other subjects such as our literature
Yep.
and arts and so forth. This would be the same thing in that.
Be integrated with science, math,
They're going to have to
tech
write
ed.
papers, they're going to have
Absolutely.
to make proposals, they're going to have to make presentations just like that.
Absolutely, yep.
I would say all of these offerings are wonderful. I am personally very appreciative that a world religions course is coming back, because I think our young people, given what is going on in the world today, need to recognize how many similarities there are throughout all cultures in seeking to understand this human experience that we call in different ways religion, philosophy, ideology, but that it is a human experience and that the fundamentals of that human experience do not change. Where you live, how you were brought up, at what time, your gender, and your orientation. And I think young people in particular, given that knowledge, are able to negotiate the world much better.
Well, just to clarify, that's not a world religions course, it's a language course, but there's a cultural component to that.
Let's bring back a world religion course too.
Well, I think it sounds pretty riveting myself. It makes me want to go back to middle school.
Does this require board action?
This is an update for the board.
Okay, so it doesn't require
Yeah.
board action. Thank you.
There'll be board
There's other-
action further down the line in
Right.
terms of posting for a teacher.
Got you, I see that. Okay, thank you. That then brings us to the portion, unless there's any other questions, don't mean to cut conversation
Thank you,
short.
John. That's why I made that.
Yes, thank you, John. Personnel recommendations, there was a late resignation. To add, you had received one previous. I'll read them both before the action takes place. The resignation first of Cyrillus Scoville from the East-West art position and Carrie Rapicki from the special education position at East. I would entertain a motion for those two approval of resignations.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried, resignations thus approved. Brings us to approval of new hires, because I'm not aware of any additional retirement, or approval of retirements. The approval of new hires, you were provided background on your board packet. The first is for Eric, is it Blazing? Baraboo High School Social Studies position, and then Darren Berger, Baraboo High School Cross-Categorical Special Aid, also background provided in your board packet. Entertain a motion for the approval of those two new hires.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Cummings, seconded by McNevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. If you'd add under D, approval of postings, would be the position at East-West Art and also the special education assistant at East. Add those postings to the Jack Young Middle School Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, here forward known as STEM teacher. Entertain a approval for the postings, those three postings.
I move to approve the postings, those three postings.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Vedro. Any further discussion?
I just have a couple of questions. It appears that we aren't going to be seeing the FACE program at the middle school again for quite some time. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Well, and maybe this should be brought up with the building and grounds, but as long as you're not going to have the FACE program, then I assume the STEM program is going to be where you exchange the office and
Yeah.
okay. Now, the prints, I think, show, and I think we've talked about this.
Right.
I think Dan O'Brien or somebody, or
He's
Kevin or
already been in
whomever,
discussions with them, and he's already done site visits.
but my concern is that they don't put in all these hookups for 5 stoves and refrigerators and all this electrical stuff, because that should save
Got it
some money
covered.
on the
Yep.
construction.
Yep, and I met with Dan
We've had
last
those
week as well,
discussions.
we talked about that.
Oh, sorry, I blew up.
No,
That's
no.
okay.
Well, and I'll just add,
No, I mean, it's a
yeah,
good point to
yeah.
bring up, because there was a lot of planning in that room.
Right.
Yeah, and
and
the
we-
electrical layout is it's different for STEM as opposed to for FCS.
When we went and did our visit, we took Dan with us too to see what a STEM classroom needs to be set up. And then when we talked with Project Lead the Way, they provided us a design guide for classrooms, and they worked in collaboration with EUA to develop that design guide. So our architects are very familiar with schools that are using those kind of classroom setups.
So there should be some cost savings there. That we
Yeah,
can
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the parking lot.
Sorry.
Any further discussion?
I'm doing a slide.
Hearing none, those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to E, approval of long-term sub-position at Al Bierman. This is for cognitive disability special ed, Pam Sorcy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, who was the second? Mr. Meering, motion by Vedro, seconded by Meering. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to F, increased teacher contract from 60 to 100% for Katie Trulock. That's for speech and language. Background was provided in your board packet. Entertaining motion for thus.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Cummings, seconded by Riley. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to the back of the page. G, approval of compensation for co-ops and youth apprenticeship. Mr. Hubble provided background in your board packet. Having that in front of you and having that previous, I would entertain a motion for the approval as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Vedro, seconded by Riley. Any discussion?
I appreciate the work Mr. Hubble has done in clarifying and everybody. And I also appreciate
Lori and Glenn.
in reading the materials that it included the involvement of as many of the participants and folks as could to come up with an appropriate structure to replace the one that was in the past.
Okay. Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Brings us to new business. I'll turn to Chair of Finance, Mr. McNevin, for the approval of the disbursements.
So moved. Second.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Cummings to approve the disbursements as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion and disbursements thus approved. Brings us to B, approval of the youth options for fall. You were presented the request in the students' names in your board packet. Unless there's any further discussion, or even if there is, I'd entertain a motion for the approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Meering, seconded by Riley. Is there any further discussion?
Well, we have to give that to them whether they want to or not, don't we? You know, youth options.
Yeah, as long as we don't
Isn't
have,
it
as long as they don't take over 18 credits, and the students know that they can only have 18 credits.
Anything else? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to C, board members to present diplomas at the June graduation, June the 5th this year. Any volunteers? Gary, when's the last time you had a suit on?
73.
Sean, have you ever, have all the board members participated?
No.
At one time or another?
Not
You
yet.
haven't?
I'm happy to, unless my hair might be a little bit,
What, grayer?
a little bit grayer.
All right. Well, then I will gladly have your assistance.
I would love to stand on the stage with you.
All right, sounds good to me. It's gonna be cool that night, I promise. Yeah.
Usually,
Yeah.
as long as it's not triple.
Brings us then to D, approval of the 2015-16 Delta Dental Insurance Contract Renewal. This was a discussion previously. It was suggested to go back and crunch numbers again, ask numbers to be crunched on the dental insurance providers end.
Which option?
The what?
Renewal, the option one, yeah, take that.
Have a motion for the approval of the renewal option 1.
I'll second that.
Motion by McNevin, seconded by Meering.
So that took it from 9% increase to 7? Is that correct?
Right, they looked at the March claims, and from now on, we're gonna wait a little bit longer.
Well,
Let
but
those
I
March
think-
claims come
Well,
in.
but I think one of the things that I'd like us to look at is Craig knows there's, every single group's got their own
Yeah.
carved out deal of some kind. And I think now that it's probably an opportunity to standardize the benefit, maybe make it a fixed rate benefit, and go from there. And keep it really basic for our payroll department, so we don't have to figure out what category they're in, and, you know, whether it's we pay them or they pay us type.
Well, that would be something for, what, the personnel committee?
Possibly the district insurance committee, personnel.
Any further questions? Having a motion and a second, those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to E, long-term disability insurance renewal.
We were provided a renewal from WEA, and they came back, Sean, you won't like this percentage, they came back with a 20% rate increase if we stay with our current plan. So it will go from 37 cents per $100 of covered salary to 44 cents per $100 of covered salary. That amounts to, I crunched the numbers today, it comes to between $10,000 and $11,000 would be the increase in cost to the district for staying status quo, long-term disability, as we've had it in the past. They did provide an alternate plan for us that would take our benefit percentage from 90% of salary with our current plan and go to 75%. Our renewal rate for that, we would actually see a penny per $100 of covered salary decrease. So we would see a decrease in around the range of about $1,500 in district costs. So I really see three options for the board to take on this. Stay status quo, accept the $11,000 increase in cost to the district, decrease our benefit from a 90% of benefit percentage to 75%, or perhaps look for a different company to offer long-term disability. I did do a bit of research on districts around us to see what was offered. Something that was unique to us was we have a 90-day qualifying period, so the injury has to happen, the employees have to wait 90 days until they can get long-term disability. The districts around us, actually the majority of them are 60 days, so they actually have a stronger benefit than us along those lines. However, I also looked at the percentages, what are different districts paying out for percentages. Just to throw a couple out there, Waunakee and Lodi are both at 90%, very similar to us, but only have 60-day periods. Sauk Prairie has 90% for 6 months and then 75% after that. Middleton has 60% for teachers and 90% for non-teachers with a 60-day waiting period. So we're right in the ballpark with our current amount, or our current amount of coverage, but that 20% increase is a bit of an increase.
Who these other districts are with another carrier?
Middleton was with a different carrier. I would have to do a little bit more research to get that to you.
What's the timeline for renewal for that?
The renewal is July 1st.
Does anybody have short-term disability in combination with long-term?
Yeah, they purchase it. Oh, you mean
They
the
can
district
purchase it,
doesn't?
we don't
They
pay for
purchase
it.
it on their own.
Well, I mean, typically, long-term disability kicks in after 6 months, or, or 3 months.
90 days is
Yeah.
pretty standard.
But usually there's a bridge of short-term to get you there.
And our employees do have the option of purchasing that short-term disability insurance, but it isn't district provided.
It says on the form that was provided in the board packet that it needs to be returned by April 30th. That was just their request?
That's their request.
Okay.
I am certainly happy to look at other options if that's the direction the board wants to take.
Well, it'd be nice to have some comparison, I guess,
Well, 20%.
since we're not in a rush.
Yeah, 20% just seems, for this type of benefit, it seems way out of line.
Does seem high.
Is it based on claims though? Because
It
we
is
have
based on
had some
claims.
long-term disabilities.
No, I'm sure
Here.
that's probably part of the water.
It's based on risk, and they said basically our cost prior was quite low comparatively to other districts.
Yeah, but maybe we've had a little run here, but before
Right.
that, it was low. So,
Well,
what's will happen? Next year, it was high this year, and next year it could be very low again. So I mean, what's the average over time? Isn't that insurance, I guess? I don't know.
Well, I imagine our average age employee is probably going down.
I would recommend that we ask for more detail and more specifics, and provide some specifics about the fact that many of our longer-term employees have reached retirement age and are out, and that we have a young and vibrant group of younger teachers in, and that if they're gonna ask for some kind of increase, that it be calculated based on the current demographic, not past history. Although there might be some
I have an assumption it's not based on demographic as much as it's based on claims history.
Right.
So,
But our claims are directly connected, I would think, to that particular demographic that shifted significantly over the last 2 or 3 years.
We have some older, vibrant people too.
So we'd
I like to
we're
think of
moving-
myself as an older, vibrant person.
So we'd like more specifics.
Totally vibrant.
More specifics from WEA. Would you like me to check in to other companies
Yes,
as
please.
well?
I would say yes.
Yes.
This currently is like a $50,000 a year expenditure, is that right, for us?
Yeah, if it's 20% increase, it'd be 10,000.
I just didn't see the total wasn't on the.
I can give you teacher cost. Teacher cost is about 53, well, it is currently 45,000. It would go up to about 53. That's just for teachers, but that's the majority of who receives the benefit.
Do you need that as a motion, or you're just gonna come back to us? You can just come back to us at the next meeting, or?
Absolutely.
Second meeting in May, which we need to talk about. We only have one meeting in May.
No, we have 2, May 11th and May 18th.
Heads up on that, yeah.
Heads up on
11/8.
11th and 18th of May.
Because of Memorial Day.
If you wanna come the 25th, you're welcome to. Okay, let's move on then to F, which is the CISA 5 purchase of Fort Winnebago School.
I'll read it. The school board of Baraboo at a duly noted official school board meeting on April 27, 2015, votes to approve the purchase of Fort Winnebago Elementary School located at the town of Fort Winnebago in the Portage Community School District in Portage, Wisconsin by Cooperative Education Service Agency for the Columbia Marquette Alternative Needs, or COMAN, Alternative Needs Program. That's my resolution to the board.
So I'll take that as a motion. Is there a second to the resolution?
Second.
Having the motion read and seconded. Any further discussion?
Why? I mean, why are we involved in this? Just because we are a member of CISA 5, is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It takes, it
35
requires.
school districts are a member of CISA 5, so basically, just as a scan, remember when we sold that building and so forth, and we ended up buying another building, we had to approve that as a board. All the school districts in the CISA 5 lines. So I think it's a certain number, 3/4 or something have to approve it, so. There isn't really a cost to us. I mean, obviously we have costs through CISA 5, and it doesn't really even affect our students. There would be some negative repercussions to students and maybe some negative costs to CISAs if they were not able to utilize that facility.
Danny, don't we have one student in the program?
We do.
Yeah.
At Reach.
Reach.
In Portage?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't realize that we had one there, so. It's different than the SCAN program.
It's an elementary version of SCAN.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us then to G, which is the approval of parent badger exam exempt request. There was one addition.
3rd grade.
3rd grade. I would entertain a motion to act upon them as a group.
Yeah.
I move to approve the 3 parent requests.
4.
4, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was 3. 4 parent requests.
Second.
Motion by Mearing, seconded by Vedro. A lot of confidentiality to be concerned about, but is there any further discussion?
I would just say that, as noted in the documentation, it is the rights. And there is a movement on to challenge the amount of high-risk, quote-unquote, testing. And I, both as an educator and as a board member, tend to feel that they are right. We have been led into a system that requires constant assessment of certain values at the expense of others that are equally important. And that's a larger battle than we can fight here, but I honor the parents who are seeking this exemption.
Anything further? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried. Brings us to the added revised item on the agenda from the first edition, that's H, which is the approval of the phone system and public address system purchase. The bids were opened. Mr. Cummings, you care to elaborate?
We opened them last week, and I believe Jeff has them right now. Matt sent them down here. We had one bid, and they basically come in under budget, which was good.
Yep. Roughly 20,000 under budget.
So the bid and the amount is what?
147, is it?
I'd have to take a gander. One bid is for 31,744.54. Let me add maybe a little quick math here. $148,276.97.
Who's the contractor?
RMM Solutions.
Where are they from?
Wausau.
Matt had been doing business with them, was very satisfied. And for that, I would make a motion that we accept the bid there. Second.
Having a motion by Mr. Cummings, seconded by Mr. McNevin to offer a contract to RMM Solutions for the phone and public address system to the tune of $148,276.97. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Brings us to the portion of the agenda entitled closed session. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session as per the sections and statutes posted in the notice.
Move.
Having a motion and a second, roll call. Cummings? Nevin? Mearing?
Aye.
Mortimer?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
Bedrow? Bodak? Aye. 5 minutes, thank you.